There's an overemphasis on gender theories and the pairing of it with race. I've been thinking about these recent examples of universities censoring topics around gender, ideology, race, theory, and so forth, and the strategies that has been used to get some of these restrictive policies and essentially these gag orders approved. And I've noticed that of recent times they followed controversies that involve lessons on gender theory. We saw an example of this at the University of Oklahoma, where a student was given an assignment to reflect on a paper that addressed gender theories and expected to use an academic framework to analyze how they felt about this and some of the strengths and weaknesses. And instead, the student utilized the Bible to confront and challenge the topic. We also saw at Texas A&M where a professor was also challenged and confronted by a student in the classroom. And that video went viral. The student challenged the instructor, stating that the lesson on gender theory was illegal and in contradiction to biblical principles. And in both of these examples, they really illustrated the veracity of disagreement that exists in the general population about whether or not gender theories should be taught and the extent to which that is a form of indoctrination. Now, to set that argument to the side, what I'm most interested in is how these controversies have been used to propel policies to censor other topics beyond gender theories. So what I've noticed, these kinds of controversies around gender theories have been used as pretext to eradicate, to censor topics in regards to race. Case in point, here in Texas, some conservative politicians attempted to outright place a gag order on professors' ability to literally teach critical race theory. Those bills, interestingly, failed. They could not get through this conservative legislature. They considered it, they looked at it, and it just could not get a majority of conservatives to agree that those topics should be banned. As a matter of fact, there's no evidence whatsoever that majority of even Texans want to see these kinds of restrictive policies, especially around race, to be implemented in our universities. This is not what our employers want. This is not what citizens want. So when they attempted to deal with it head on to stop race discussions, stop race theories being discussed in classrooms from sociology, healthcare, and so forth, the legislators, now again, the conservative legislature said no. So what did they do? They strategically decided, well, we're going to push to the universities. Since we can't get the state to officially pass laws to ban these things, we're going to work at it at the university levels. And they probably still understood that they would face some resistance, but to overcome that resistance, they had to focus on a topic that they could build a much broader coalition beyond just the mega groups or the far right groups and white nationalists and so forth who wanted these topics removed but didn't have the political capital to do that directly. However, in regards to gender theory, that political capital exists. There's a broad group of Americans, Christians, even Democrats that disagree with the attention that has been paid to gender theories, not only in politics, but also in our classrooms. But that wasn't their end game. The end game wasn't to prevent gender theories only to being discussed, but they really wanted to stop the discussions around race, around ethnicity. So they found a way to do that, a workaround, using gender theories as the cover, as the pretext, as the controversy, and then introduced in their race. There's evidence that even at Texas A&M, they were already working on their policy that we couldn't teach race and so forth before the Melissa McCool controversy. Some have argued that this was a setup, that this was intentionally created, a staged event in a classroom to open the door for these policies to be pushed through and to appear to be needed because, whoa, look at this. There's this huge thing going on in the classroom around gender theories, but that's not the issue they were really after. They were after race. And why is that? Why are they after race? Why do they want to end that discussion? And I think it's because the vast impact that information and truth about how race have showed up in this world, and specifically in this country, impact every individual on this planet. People of color in particular represent 9/10 of the population, and their treatment and the way in which our world has been structured to emphasize European culture is very strategic. That ideology is in danger. We've been told that our society have been built primarily through the ingenuity of white Americans and Europeans. We've been told that anyone else that exists in this world that are not present in our organizations at the top, or not business owners, or not multimillionaires, you didn't achieve that because you just didn't work hard. Even went as far as to suggest that they were somehow genetically superior. When the truth of the matter is a systematic structuring of a society that intentionally created these differences, that has emphasized whiteness over everyone else. The truth will bring down and crumble the hegemony that they built across the globe. They're using gender theories to blind people of their true intent to end discussions of race around economics, around immigration, around housing, around health and welfare, around labor. And they also want to literally erase history, erase the truth of history for their versions of history, which elevates white European contributions well beyond what actually happened and diminish the contributions of everyone else. And it's important because if others realize that we had a far greater impact on this world, on America, on what America represents, then we might begin to expect more. We might say, why is it that there are some groups that are far more overrepresented than other groups? And the argument that they've earned this won't be salient anymore, because we will understand, our students will understand the truth of the matter. It is even more scarier for some when they realize that right now, statistics are showing that America is moving toward a major shift politically, especially in terms of who is going to control this country in the future. We're already seeing in K through 12 where there is no majority race. White students do not represent the majority. It's not hard to understand what impact that is going to have on our politics. They're afraid of, and they've called it the Great Replacement Theory, genetic annihilation. America is on a cusp of a major change. And as a result, they're scrambling to figure out how to keep this system in place. More immediately, they want to control education. And professors, we're at the front lines of this. This is why they're at our doorstep. This is why we have become the enemy. This have highlighted the absolute importance of what we do in our classrooms. They understand that if they can get there and restructure, prevent the truth sayers, prevent the educators from speaking what is actually the truth, they can then delay their inevitable decline in terms of power in this country. So we are so important as professors. We have to recognize what this is really about. The power, the wealth that has been built in this country was built on race, was built on that foundation. And they need the narratives that they have created to stay in place.